Welcome once again to the I and Thou video series. Now, I told my guest it's a video series, and then he comes and sits down. He says he thought it was radio. I guess you weren't thinking at that.
It could be radio if you cut out the video.
Yeah, okay, all right. So
it could be a video floating in space, the audio floating in space, and then sometimes they come together, sometimes they don't.
Okay. Oh, and he was wondering why there's the sounds of nature behind us, but we don't have any representation of nature around us. So he drew something you can't see, unfortunately. Let's see if we can see it here.
Oh no! Just say that it's a beautiful picture of a palm tree. It's a beautiful picture of a palm tree. There, look at that. With coconuts.
See, we can't see it.
Good.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Good. No, but imagination is a much better artist.
So, this is something I wrote in my notebook today. I'm taking an online course on American literature. And this morning we heard an interpretation of The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe. You are familiar with the story?
Read it like 5 million years ago.
But I mean, do you know the storyline?
It's always the same in Poe. I mean,
Move the thing a little closer.
I'm gonna hit closer.
It won't work. Okay. Okay, so the guy is at a rooming house, and he sees another guy in a rooming house, and he has something on one of his eyes, some kind of a film, and it's driving rooming house one person crazy because he's freaked out by the fact that somebody has one good eye and one clouded up eye, and he can't get it out of his mind, to the point where when the guy falls asleep, he starts staring at him, at his eye, while he's sleeping. And
why are they in the same
rooming house?
Oh, it's a rooming house.
Yeah, different rooms.
Okay.
So eventually he realizes that my obsession with the fact that I'm being looked at with one eye and a second eye that is not natural it's keeping me awake. And he decides he has to free himself of this obsession. Kind of strange, really.
Is it kills him?
I don't know how.
Oh.
You're doing that with your. I don't know. I can't remember the way he kills him.
He kills him.
He kills him.
And hence the heart beating.
No, well, then he's got to get rid of the body, so he chops it up, right? And he hides it under the floorboards of the rooming house. He is able to pry them open.
Okay.
And there's room under there, so he puts it in.
Does he do anything to the eyes?
You know, I'm not aware if he does or
Oh,
not.
Edgar.
Well, don't blame him. You should blame me.
No. I have a feeling he didn't do anything with the eye.
So what happens then?
He just wanted to jump ahead to the heart.
Well, you know, also did his short story, The Black Cat, and he does knock out one of the cat's eyes. Yeah, he does.
I have like 3 volumes of his complete works, and I gotta look at them.
Okay, so but then there's a problem. He's hearing the heartbeat, okay? And he decides he's going to do his best to ignore it. And then the police come to find out, where is this guy? He disappeared. So they're interviewing all the people in the rooming house. And they're interviewing our narrator in the room where his former used to live. And as he's talking to the police, he starts to notice the heartbeat is getting louder and louder and louder. And then it's getting so loud, he's thinking, how come they don't notice this? Why don't they notice this thing is getting louder and louder and louder? And eventually it's getting so loud that he realizes the only way that he can stop it is if he confesses to the crime. But listen to this interpretation of that story, okay? The old man who is the victim represents the internalized father or God or any authority figure that the narrator has been dominated by and seeks to overcome. However, after he kills him, the narrator cannot stop hearing the heartbeat. This is because it is really the narrator's own heartbeat. The authority figure was internal, was in his mind. And it could not be killed off externally. Now, the narrator chose to kill off the authority figure externally, but he did not take the other path, which is to seek to understand the authority figure and why it had power over him. What the narrator really needed was knowledge. He did not need violence to solve his problem.
Thank you, Cliff's Notes. By the way, can you catch my black eye? I woke up with this one night, and one morning, I have no idea how it happened.
You woke up with a black eye.
I woke up with a black eye, but I had
Was it worse than it is right now?
It doesn't hurt.
No,
No, it's the same. It's
okay,
the same.
all
It's
right.
getting a little bit. No, I have the grandchildren over a lot, and
Do you roughhouse with them?
we roughhouse, and limbs fling, heads plunge into your face. So, I mean, I wasn't surprised. That's brilliant.
I mean, interpretation of literature to me is fascinating.
It's fascinating. I do write a lot. So, did Poe mean that?
Well, now, it's important that you ask that, sir. When it comes to interpretation, let's say you write a story, and then I come up with some really unusual interpretation, and you say, I wasn't thinking of that when I wrote it. Am I justified in saying to you, that interpretation is still valid whether or not you intended it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Yes, but it would be nice to know if that's what the author intended.
Okay.
But if something is a little bit more complicated than Christopher Robin, although I guess there are interpretations to that too.
Wizard of Oz has
Yeah,
interpretations.
I know, but if it's serious literature, you don't I mean, I write a lot, and I think about I think about what I'm writing.
Do you ever put symbolism into your writing?
Always. Well, I grew up with the absurdists, the Becketts. I grew up with Edward Albee. I grew up with Gunter Grass and Tin Drum with a midget whistling and screaming and magical realism kind of stuff. So
It influenced you.
yeah, that's that. I'm locked into that. I can't change that. And that's the best kind of things to write. Borges, Louis. What the hell's his first? Borges.
Is it Jean Louis or
No,
Louis Borges?
Yeah.
L-U-I-S.
The Argentinian.
Yeah.
He was influenced by Poe. And have you read
I've read
his
Borges.
story? Whoa.
But, I mean, he's written a lot. I don't know which one in
Yes,
particular.
his story. No. His stories though.
Oh.
He's written poetry. He's written essays, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
His stories are just. Every sentence he's going in a different direction, and there is no way that it certainly wasn't. It didn't have the traditional arc of fiction, of literature, and so it's I'm sure you have to have as a writer you have to have some impetus to get from point A to point B, the end. There is a beginning, there is an end. God only knows the end may be before the beginning, or but there is an actual page 1 and there's an actual page the end. So to get from one to the other, you can make a lot of stops. You can go back, go forward. And as soon as you stop being literal, you're subject to interpretation, and that's a great thing. I'll give you an example. Personally, I wrote a play once called it was about Cinderella. It was my version of Cinderella, and it was weird. So, but just.
You diverted a bit from the traditional story?
Hold on. The prince was a foot fetishist, and we should give you an example. It was a power struggle. The king was ashamed of his foot fetishist son, the prince, because it wasn't good for business. In any event, so I wrote this in an absurd way. So we had a.
Did you expect it to be performed?
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
Why not? And eventually, I had a staged reading of it, which actually went. It took several. This took a long time to write. Eventually, it was. I forget what the new title was. It's. I forgot what the new title was. But in any event, so we had the first staged reading took place. I have half of my friends are poets, half of them are playwrights. So we do the reading, we do the stage reading, and so at the end there were comments. All the playwrights, they were like, but I don't understand this. This doesn't make sense. This doesn't follow. This is not the arc. This is not. And the poets were like, no, I liked it. You don't have to understand everything. And so you have two different ways of looking at it. People are like that. There are people who like things literally. They like things in order. And there are other people who just like you. You float around, I think, anyway. Maybe not, but...
well, part of who I am is your perception of me.
Well, but you don't know what my perception of you is.
Well,
till I tell you.
You gave me a little glimpse.
Okay.
Glimpse.
I have a feeling that you enjoy going with the flow, but so what I'm saying is that it took me a while. Writing what I did, I have done. A lot of people telling me I don't understand it. It's not literal. Why don't you write like everybody else? that's that kind of stuff. And then feeling inferior because it's like, but yeah, I can, but I'm not happy doing that. And then eventually to accept that what I put down is subject to interpretation, and that's great. That you know. So now Poe, I guess. I don't. Yeah, they didn't have absurdist writing in those days. I mean, I'm sure there was some somewhere not labeled as that. But I think probably he. I'm not taking your course, but I'm just guessing. He had an idea, you know. And
Well, it's the professor's interpretation, so maybe the professor's been influenced.
that's true. And maybe he did. I mean, don't underestimate great writer, great thinkers. Don't underestimate them. I mean, you know, we mere mortals, you know, we scratch at what they write, but there's no reason why he couldn't have had something like that in his head, or something else complicated. Just, you know, waiting for somebody to figure it out.
Mm-hmm. Would you like to hear the Wizard of Oz thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me see if I could find it for you.
Now
here.
the book, not the movie. The movie is
Either.
Yeah.
Either.
Movies can come out a lot different than. Well, I never read The Wizard of Oz, but that was supposedly a classic, right?
Yeah. Okay, let's see if I can find it here. It's a Freudian interpretation. All right. You ready for this? This is weird. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I got to give you the next one. Sorry. Got to do this again.
Well, when you're doing it, if we had some fronds here, we could have them waving in
Okay,
the breeze.
here it is. Ready?
Yeah.
Tell me when this gets too bizarre for you.
I don't think so.
Okay. The name of the person who put forth this theory is named Daniel Dervin. He wrote a whole book interpreting The Wizard of Oz, and I'm going to give you little snippets from the book, okay?
Is this his dissertation?
Probably. All right. Dorothy is a teenager. She's learning about sexual intercourse, and she finds it frightening and confusing. So she projects all of her fears into the form of a tornado. Then Dorothy is taken away by the tornado to Oz, and when she arrives in Oz, she is able to symbolically replay her internal conflicts by means of smaller conflicts that can be managed. For example, in Kansas, Auntie M is not able to provide Dorothy with enough love and attention. This is evidenced by her dismissal when she says, Auntie M, help me, Toto's being taken away. She doesn't try to help her when the little dog is being taken away. So Dorothy has negative feelings toward Auntie M, which she has to suppress. But in Oz, she doesn't have to suppress them. Okay? She can do whatever she wants with her hostile feelings. So she splits Auntie M into two people, the good Auntie M and the wicked Auntie M. The Wicked Witch of the West.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, you get that? All right. Okay. Now, what happens to the wicked side of Auntie M, the Wicked Witch of the West? She's killed by Dorothy. Interesting, huh? And that saves Dorothy from any feelings of guilt because she didn't really kill Auntie M, she killed the representation, all right? Now, how about Dorothy's father, who is equally inept and doesn't do a thing when the dog is taken away, okay? His counterpart in Oz is the wizard, okay? And when she first meets the wizard, there's these flashes of thunder and lightning, which could represent her father being stern and the head of the household, okay? But when she builds up enough courage to confront him and asks him for, help, he responds by giving her the following orders. I will help you, but you've got to bring me the Wicked Witch's broomstick. You've got to bring me the representation of my penis, which your mother has seized. So you've got to get that from your mother and give it back to me.
I can see why this is a book.
So you have to return it to its rightful owner, me, okay? So now she has to go through this journey to get the broomstick, parentheses, penis, all right? And lay it at his feet.
Does he have a sewing kit? As far as I know, there was no sewing kit in... Oh, wait a minute, that's where the monkeys come in.
Now get this. When she does give him the broomstick, she discovers that all of his fierceness and power, it's an illusion. It's all smoke and mirrors. It's all a contraption, all right? There's nothing superhuman at all about the father figure, all right? In fact, he's quite normal and unthreatening. And this helps Dorothy overcome some of her trauma regarding men, okay? Dorothy picks up 3 people in Oz, Tin Man, Scarecrow, and Lion, all representing her children that she's trying to bring up into full fruition by giving them the things that they need to become stable adults. Okay.
This is in your course. You had to read this for your course?
No, this was a book that I started reading.
Is this, you get extra credit if you read this book?
No. Now get this. When Dorothy does return to Kansas, there's not a storm outside anymore. It's a nice, beautiful spring day, and everybody is around her bed, okay? Almost like she was a mother who just gave birth. What did she have to do?
Or Merle in Wuthering Heights. Merle Oberon? Yeah. She was in bed, dying with Heathcliff.
Oh.
You know.
Oh, you're going to have to explain that to the viewers.
Well, go watch the movie Wuthering Heights.
Okay, you can tell them to do that.
At the end, she's lying there in bed.
No.
With David Niven and.
There's an interpretation of the Wizard of Oz, and I'm wondering if you have any
thoughts about
that. Yeah.
Well, you know what? I've always thought that critics are way smarter than artists. Yeah, they whip up that stuff. That's a nice story. That's a nice story. Probably 1% is accurate.
Yeah.
I think. I think very little is. But it's. Why do we like to hear that? That was fascinating. That was fascinating in its own little story.
Yeah.
And so, I guess you have a critic trying to be an artist, but hiding behind the original work. Critics can't do their own creativity, so they hide behind that. But that's pretty creative. Give them credit. I wouldn't read the book. I would not read the book.
You mean
it's a little far-fetched.
To this? Oh, his book.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. I said.
I don't know. You did. Oh, you're just reading the summary.
No, I read the book, and
You did read the book.
but then
God bless you.
But then I extrapolated what I
Okay.
thought the book was trying to say.
Okay.
And I put it into my notebook.
Okay. No, I give you credit. I give you. Yeah. I don't. I have a finite amount of time, and I pick my books carefully.
Oh, I want to bring up something else with you, since you're a writer.
Yeah.
One of the few writers, really, that I could talk to this about just came up today on the PBS NewsHour, which I think is like the finest of all the ways you can look at the news. I would say PBS News is at the top. They had Salman Rushdie, and he's did you see it? He just wrote a book.
No, and I am totally ignorant of some. What's holding me back reading the satanic verses. I mean,
Yeah.
He's written many other things, wonderful things, and I want to read him. I never got to read him because I'm holding back. Oh, I got to read satanic verses first, and it's like, well, I don't really know anything about Muhammad, so that's holding me back, and I'm ashamed of myself. But go on. I'm sorry.
Well, in his latest book, and he was being asked about his latest book, which is written in the present. And he said to the interviewer, he said, there is a rule in writing that if you're writing a story, set it in a period other than the period you're living in now. Because if you set it in the period you're living in now and you go past the present, like you start in the present and you go into the future, you look like a fool if history changes.
Yeah. Okay.